Welcome back to Poker Gauntlet. This is episode 4. Jan is still at the top of the leaderboard despite the courageous and imaginative efforts of Jay in episode 3. Episode 4 brings another 25NL player to the arena, and this guy's name is Laurent. He is a French player, I'm guessing. If not, then I just sound like an absolute idiot for saying the name that way. But yeah, let's see if he can challenge Jan's score. And let's see how the leaderboard looks after this episode. If you like what you see, don't forget to check out our subscription service and our pro videos over at carrotcorner.com by clicking that top link in the description. But let's get to episode 4 of Poker Gauntlet. Our brave hero begins his quest with the Queen 9 of hearts in the small blind, and it's going to fold all the way round to hero, who's going to make it 3 big blinds to go. 10 out of 10 for that start. If only it was that easy. I don't think there's ever been a 10 on Gauntlet yet. The best score is 8, I believe, because I am mean and basically unimpressible and horrible. We get a flop of King Queen 9, which is an okay flop for hand. Pretty good flop for hand, and a reasonable flop for range as well. I think we're going to do a lot of betting here. Generally, we start with the check. I think I prefer betting, and the reason I prefer a bet here, and I don't want to like split hairs because usually, solver's going to say you can go either way here and it might not seem like a big deal, but generally people are going to be quite passive on boards that look repulsive and disgusting at 25NL, and we have to cater our line a little bit to the pool. So I just think there are way more combos that we beat that are investing by calling here than by betting. And I think people will be quite cagey facing a check here and not bet so much low equity stuff as they would on some dry, innocuous looking board like 4-3-3 or something like that. So prefer a bet here slightly, but I don't mind it. As played, our hand is very close between raise and call. I don't think raise is bad, although in theory it's mostly going to be a call. I think this bet is more merged and a bit more, maybe not capped, that's probably not the right word, but contains more medium hands dragging down the equity of this range in real life, shall we say. We do go for a call here, which I don't absolutely hate. The turn is the deuce of clubs. This is getting a bit grim now. Villain bet's really big. You could ask yourself, is my hand a bluff catcher at this point? I would say no, because 25NL players are going to merge here with like King Jack with the Jack of clubs and stuff like that at some frequency. If villain is a weaker player, and many people at these stakes are, then you could see them just betting a hand like sevens with a club here or something, or Queen 10 with the 10 of clubs, kind of making like a polarization mistake maybe. You could also just see like the naked ace of clubs here that decided to bet the flop, like ace 10 with a club or something like that. I think this is definitely a call with the boat draw being relatively live and high implied odds. I think you want to continue here, but we're probably taking the worst of it at this point. But needing 30% pot entitlement to continue, I would flick in the call reluctantly, and we do. So far so good. 5 river and villain bets again. Now I think our hand is kind of just becoming a bluff catcher. In a spot like this, you're just not really going to be beating value bets here for this sizing on 3 straight 3 flush runouts like this. It's not impossible that villain is overvaluing something like King Jack at some frequency, but I think what really matters here is the spot overbluffed or underbluffed, and what mass data would really say, what grade E, the exploitative grade of the Carrot Poker School that's based on hundreds of millions of hands of data, what it would say is that runouts like triple Broadway or 2.5 Broadways, like we'd classify this one, the 9 being semi-functional as a Broadway here, 3 flush, 3 straight, very underbluff textures in general. If you just think about how many natural bluffs there are arriving on river here, there aren't that many. I actually think just folding all bluff catchers in this node is good, even though it's a blind versus blind node. And as this hand is so close to a bluff catcher, I just go ahead and let it go. Like, I'm not really bothered about calling Queen 9 here. You can't really get a worse 2 pair than this, so you're not really beating any value whatsoever. Yeah, just go ahead and fold. Not expecting that though, because most people don't fold 2 pair blind versus blind. Wow. It's a really good fold from Laurent. I think this is a very good hand. The only slight misstep is that we didn't bet the flop, but I don't actually hate that. It's not a big deal. I'm going to start off here with an 8 out of 10. I think this is an exceptionally good river fold for the level. I'm impressed. It's not that easy to find. Let's start with an 8. Okay, moving on. Off we go with hand number 2. We have ace king offsuit in the small blind. We're going to open. We're going to get called. We're going to start with a check. This is okay. I think check raise here would be my primary line. people at these stakes are just stabbing far too much when check 2. They just think it's like the, you know, you're waving the white flag or something. They get the green light to bet. It's a red flag to a bull. It's all of these light flag analogies. But yeah, we're going to go for, we're going to go for a call here. I think I prefer a raise. Like, I think at these stakes, when you go check call here, turn goes check check a bit too often, people are not tripling an absolute ton, but they are probably betting 2 merges on the flop. So again, I think you just want to treat your hand as like a really big hand here. The stuff you lose to is king 4 suited, king 9, and pocket 4s. It's very few combos at all. On a board like this, ace king is just an extremely high equity hand, and people are betting far too often with flush draws and gut shots in top pair. So definitely a big fan of just raising the flop here and throwing caution to the wind and just trying to build a big pot and clean runouts. You can always slow down if the runout is bad. On this turn, yeah, I mean, let's start with the check and consider check raise or check call. Again, like, I think our hand is pretty damn high EV here. I don't think check raise is that bad on this node. I don't think anyone will check raise here. But realistically, you're still just losing to pocket 4s or king 9 or something. I'm not that worried about those hands. King 4 suited as well. King deuce suited, if it's bet the flop, is one combo, just clubs. King 4 is just clubs. Yeah, I think raising turn here again is a decent way to go, especially if they're just using too many like high EV draws and stuff, like flush draws. Check call is reasonable though. I think it's much closer now than it was on the turn. Solver's probably just going to like call on this node because it's going to think the opponent's a bit more polarized. But I think raise makes a lot of sense on double flush draw here, and I'd actually like to see it. With ace of hearts, you can be a bit more weighted towards call, I guess. But yeah, I like raise there as well. I just like fast playing against people who are just betting too merged and betting too many of their higher equity draws. I think it's just a better way to go, and it's a good way to play against strong ranges. We talk about that in episode 2 of True EV, the course for Carrot Corner subscribers on carrotcorner.com. Ace of spades lands on the river. I think check. Now it's not clear that villain is value betting a king anymore. Like, they probably shouldn't be. We do, however, beat king 9 now, and king 4, which are hands that could have been value betting on the flop. We do lose to pocket 4s and 9s if it didn't 3-bet pre. I think I'm just all in. There is 3-5 now, 3-5 suited to worry about. So let's think about this a bit more, actually. So what's bet calling here that we beat? King 9, one combo of king 4. Not a lot, actually. There shouldn't be any other 2-pair to the ace in this line. Okay, villain's maybe just a bit too polarized here, actually. I think this is just a call. 3-5 gets there, we're still losing to 4s, we're still losing to 9s, if it exists. Yeah, I think I'd just go for call in this river. Like, villain's not even guaranteed to bet call it off with king 9 or something there. They can possibly find a fold at some frequency. I think it's now just a call, but I do like check raising flop a lot more. Okay, on average then, he does have the king 4. It's really unfortunate. It's the hand that we do want to raise river against. I missed that king 4 of hearts and clubs, not just clubs. That was a silly moment. I forgot that the hearts were unblocked there. But king deuce is just clubs, right? So I'm going to give this hand a 6. I think it's an okay hand, but I think raising on flop is better and it's just generally an improvement against this pool. Obviously that wouldn't have worked out well here, but yeah, I think the rule is just generally be aggressive and be thin with your check raises against a pool that oversteps when it's too merged. Okay, 6 out of 10, on to the next one. Ace 10 suited here in the small blind, and we're going to go for a 3-bet, which seems good. Villain is going to call. We're going to get 10-6 deuce. I wish people would stop taking this line on these boards, because it's just not best. Like, your range has such a big nut advantage here, and villain just gets such a great price with suited broadways to peel this in like any pocket pair. You're not really making as much of villain's range indifferent with the small bet as you are with the big one. And your nut advantage hands here, like your jacks, kings, queens, aces, ace 10, your like monopoly on the nuts hands, they really just want to go for a check raise or a big bet. So I'm just much more of a fan of check raise or big bet here, usually just choosing to bet big at a really high frequency on this board. Villain calls. The king turn is one you want to bet again on really frequently. You can get called by ace queen, ace jack, 9s, 8s, 10x, etc. Definitely a value bet. I'm not checking ace 10 here. It's going to be played very passively. Your range just wants to bet a lot here. I'd go for third pot or half pot, or even b60 here. I think all roads lead to Rome. Don't like the check. Not surprised to see it. Very classic kind of 25 NL player check where they're just undervaluing their hand and not really thinking enough and not reacting enough to the fact that like the king does fold the flop a decent amount in the opponent's range. Okay, less so to the small bet, but still sometimes. And you just have like a massive monopoly on this card, and generally, when you're the one with the range advantage, your range wants to do the driving of the action because the opponent's incentivized to check back a lot if you check, right? They do bet here. Now we've turned a hand that was a really clean value bet into like a bluff catcher. We're calling, we're not folding. Our hand has tons of redraw. There's still loads of bluffs in the opponent's range, like ace queen, ace jack, queen jack, jack nine suited backdoor, 8 9 7 8, etc. 4 5. Loads of stuff they can be bluffing here that we're crushing. Easy call. That's a really bad fold. I absolutely hate this hand. I hate that we didn't bet the turn. I hate that we've just check folded to half pot. I'm going to give this hand a 2 out of 10. A 2. That feels generous. Am I going to go down to 1? No, I'm going to stick with 2. Because Laurent sounded like a nice guy. Chatted with him earlier. Going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Although I shouldn't really be bribed by how nice people are to me. 2 out of 10. Then that's generous. Okay, on to the next. Well, guys, if you were hopeful that this hero was going to be the next champion, that too has put a dent in the armor. But we have pocket nines. We have a chance to redeem ourselves here. We go for a min open in the cutoff. We get 3-bet by the button. And we call. The flop is deuce, deuce, 4. We check it on over. They go half pot. And yeah, I think raise fold is fine here. Like if you want to just raise here and then like proceed with caution, that's definitely totally fine. If you want to call, that's also fine. I would say that theory will lean heavily towards call here, but I would maybe lean towards raise in reality, because I just don't think people are going to 3-bet bluff you ever. They're just going to tell you what's going on, and you gain a lot of useful fold equity and protection here by raising, and they have to call you with some worse. And yeah, I just don't think they're going to make life very difficult, and it's like leading them into the deep dark forest that they don't recognize a little bit more than just calling is, where probably they'll make less mistakes and you'll make more mistakes thereafter. So I'm a fan of raise here, even though it's not going to be like the first choice in GTO. It's going to be a thing in GTO, less so on the paired board though. The jack of diamonds, alright, so we're going to start with a check. We're going to face half pot again. We have nines with the diamond. We have redraw against value. We have a decent bluff catcher. We're getting 3 to 1. It's a call. It's not a happy call, but it's a call. Okay, so we find this one. Villain triples. Okay, rule for you guys. When you get triple barreled at stakes like this in a 3-bet pot, it will very rarely be overbluffed. When it's a 3-flush board, it will incredibly rarely be overbluffed. There'll be very few people in the pool overbluffing this spot. There'll be plenty of people who just don't bluff this spot enough. So while you do have a hand that, you know, the solver's going to say, you should call here a lot, the 9 of diamonds is a value blocker, but it's not a bluff blocker because you're blocking ace 9 and king 9 of diamonds, but you're not blocking ace 9 and king 9 off because villain doesn't have those pre-flop due to the 3-bet. And so it's a very positive blocker hand, and it's probably always calling in theory, I would guess. But I think I just want to fold it. Yeah, I like the fold at 25 NL. These are not the sort of spots that make you rich, and it's probably just very underbluffed, and therefore even your best bluff catchers can start to go in the trash can. I like this hand a lot. It's a good hand. I'm going to give this hand a solid 7. Everyone folds round to small blind in this hand, who makes it 2.5x. We're going to peel surely with the 3s, and we do. We do flop a set here, which is nice. I would just pure raise this spot. Again, not relying on aggression from pool later. Relying on them betting too much top pair and flush draw, relying on them bet calling just pretty often, and also it's the bottom set, it's the one you want to raise the most because it unblocks the most bet calls, so definitely a raise here. Don't like the call. Maybe in theory it's optional and it's okay. Don't like it in reality. I think you just want a fast play there. Don't think we're getting enough value. We're definitely just too passive, but that's generally the case with 25 NL players, apart from Jay, who is absolutely bonkers, who we reviewed last time. If you haven't seen episode 3, definitely go back and watch it after this. King of diamonds, and we go for 2/3, 3/4 pot. Okay, seems like the right sizing. No problems with this at all. Check, easy value bet. Yeah, okay, the rest of the hand is fine. We didn't raise flop though, so this hand's getting a 4 because it's not that difficult to play, and we should have just raised the flop, and we made a mistake. So 4 out of 10. I feel like I'm getting a bit better at actually rating hands now. Villain had queen jack, and we did pretty well there. If I've forgotten to show you guys any of the other showdowns, my bad. I do it all the time. I'm not sorry though, because I can't help it. It's sort of a pathological leak at this point. I can't do anything about it. On to the pocket 5s on the button here, and it's going to get opened by us. 3-bet by villain, called by us. Don't really care about what we do here. Villain's a weaker player. I want to peel. If villain's good, I don't mind folding 5s here. It's not going to be much of an EV loss, especially if you've got stuff going on at other tables, or if you're playing your D game or whatever. Should probably just stop your session if you're playing your D game. But anyway, half pot. Okay, it's good sizing for this board. I think with a pair in this situation, we're a little bit close to indifferent against the sizing, but we are in the green by calling, in the black by calling here slightly. Like we're just slightly plus EV by calling flop here probably. Now our hand is totally indifferent. I think we would prefer to just have a more robust overpair, probably. That's not like getting counterfeited on the 6 river and stuff like that. We'd probably prefer to have an out blocker in the 5 of hearts so the villain is not drawing to the heart as often. And do people realize how much pressure they can apply on the king? Yes, when they're bluffing, but they don't value bet thinly enough. So this could be overbluffed for the same reason that Laurent got a bad score in that previous hand where he checked the king turn. People are checking too many 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, and queens here, which leaves their betting range over bluffing, right? Too much queen, jack, ace, 10, ace, queen, ace, 5, ace, 4, 10, 9, jack, 10, queen, 10. Lots of bluffs. If you want to exploitatively call this bet, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's close, but I can actually see reasons why this could get overbluffed. Don't hate the fold. Think I prefer call, just because I don't think people are very good at controlling it there in general on this card and not good at thin value. This hand is really not, there's not much to say about this hand. I'm just going to give it a... I'm going to give it a 4.5. That's a bit harsh, but like, I just can't, there's nothing good in this hand, and there's not really much that's bad either. But I do think the spot can get overbluffed. I don't know, man. Okay, I'm going to give it a 5, because I'm not even that sure. I think it's close on the turn. I'm going to give it a 5. Jack 10 of clubs. In the small blind. Go for the open. Get the call. 998 rainbow. We go for a small bet. I think this is fine. Check raise is also good. Check call is also fine in theory. Villain raise is pretty small. What's going on here? Well, I think I would just call. It's going to be 9x. It's going to be some merges as well, like 8x. The odd pocket pair. Some other draws, some other hands like yours. 3-bet's interesting here. I don't hate 3-betting either, to be honest. It's not clear to me what's better here. I think people will probably fast play too much of these stakes with a 9 if you do 3-bet, which leads me to think that call is maybe a bit better if you make me choose between them. So, okay, call's good. Check, check. Queen river, we hit the straight. What's villain's range? And what do we do about it? Well, it's very unlikely villain has a 9 now. Much more likely they have a hand like ours and we're just chopping. Or they have like some gutter that's just hit the queen, like queen jack, queen 10. They could also just have a hand like 10-7 that's just completely air. 5-6, 7-6, the total air. We unblock all of those. We block a bit of the queen X that just hit. I think on balance, check is the best play here, because we want to check raise against like an ace that decided to check back the turn and now wants to value bet. I don't think there's a lot of stuff that's calling a bet here that isn't betting itself. Like if villain has a queen, I'm not sure they're calling a bet on this node. Like they might be, they might not be. If villain has a 9, they're going to bet themselves. If villain has air, they're definitely not calling, but they might be betting. I think you just want to check here. The villain's range is somewhat polar. There's not really a lot of ace-x in their range or queen-x in their range here. And it's not clear that they'll call with a queen anyway. And they will definitely bluff at some frequency with like 7-5, 7-6, 10-7, 10-6 suited. I think this stuff is a big part of the range at this point, if we're going to hand read properly. So we go for a check, which I really like. Full marks for that. Definitely want to check raise now. You can't really lose. You can only lose if villain like slow played 8s on the turn or something, or 9-8. Definitely, this is awful. This is horrendous. Like I think you definitely want to raise here. Like they can still have a 9. Oh wait, it's the Queen of Hearts. Okay, no, this is fine. What the hell am I talking about? I completely forgot about flushes there for a second. If they'd gone smaller, I'd still have raised. I think on the Queen of Hearts, though, call is right, because they're just not going to get paid off as much by worse. They're not going to check the turn with a 9 anyway. Yeah, I'm talking utter nonsense, guys. Ignore me. I just got, like, completely colorblind there and thought this was a rainbow board. I don't know how. I've been recording stuff all day before I go on holiday. Brain is gone. This is good. Good to scare the student, though, right, into thinking that they played terribly. They're probably watching this back like, oh no, like, I should have raised the hand that's nowhere near good enough to value raise. But yeah, on a brick river, I think you probably want to raise here. But even then, like, the villain's range is still quite polar to hands that can't really bet call or hands that beat you. Yeah, maybe I'm just changing my mind here. I just think check call is the right way to play here. Yep, okay, the hand is just not as good as it looks. It's easy to overrate this hand and underestimate how polarized the opponent is. If you stopped watching this video when you heard me say this was a check raise and you unsubscribed from Carrot Corner, fair enough, man. Fair enough, but hopefully someone told you that I changed my mind and I noticed what was going on, and now you can re-up your subscription again by going to carrotcorner.com. and check out our subscription videos again. Yeah? Okay, cool. Glad we sorted that out. That said, I'm going to give this hand a pretty good score because Hero's not really done anything wrong and I really like the river check call. So I'm going to give this hand an 8 because I think betting the river's bad and I think it's a really good river check and I think it's a really good river just call when you face the bet. I'm going to give this an 8. Good job. Hand number 8 is the ace-9 of clubs. And we go ahead and open. I'm going to pick up a call here from the big blind. I would just range check this board unless I had some exploitative thing going on. If I was against someone really placid, like a fish or something, and I had a straight here or a set here, I would bet. I don't think there's a high investment ceiling on most runouts for overpairs or for one pair in general. And this is the board that, you know, people should be leading and don't, and they just have a stronger and more polarized checking range therefore. So I think you just definitely want to go ahead and check most of your range here. Don't really love this bet. I mean, it's okay. Like, there's nothing like that wrong with building some betting range here. I think I'd just go third pot if I was betting this node, just because Villain's like super uncapped in the nut department. And with these nuts, he's going to raise you pretty frequently, and that's going to suck for your hand. We face a raise, and we kind of asked for it, and I guess we should call, but we're not loving life. We are loving life now. Villain bets big here. What is going on? Like, Jack 9 is some part of their range, straights are another part. They can just have sets, though. They're just under bluffing here dramatically. Like, they are just basically never ever bluffing you on this node. That said, you do have everything locked up. Do you want to just jam and free roll the 9? Like, you'll probably stack the 9 on a club river anyway, so you're kind of already free rolling by calling. I think what you want to do, though, is jam against the set part of their range. I think people are merging too much here at 25 NL. Are they actually going to be bluffing you with, like, low equity here? Like, are they going to have a 5? Like, ace 5 or something? Are they going to have king jack? I just don't think so. I think you just fast play and you just don't want the board to get even worse. You don't want, like, the 9 to come on the river or, like, the club to come on the river. You just want to make sure you stack these sets and free roll against the 9x here, I would guess. If they have jack 9, you're getting stacked all the time anyway. Yeah, I like the jam here. He does actually fold. Is that you've actually run into someone who's bluffing this node? That's really interesting. And yeah, you know, if you think Villain's a really aggro player, you can start to, like, slow play here, and it is definitely fine in theory. I just think in practice this is super rare. I really like the way you played this. I'm not a big fan of the flop bet though, but I'm still going to give this hand a 6. I think it's pretty reasonable. Ace King offsuit in the big blind here. It limps to us. I'd like to raise to something like 6 here probably. I think that would be good. Right, guys, that's the end of the Gauntlet series. We're just going to stop the series now. I think that's enough. Enough is enough. Let's not do this anymore. I'll bring you some other content next week. All right, bye for now. Okay, let's continue. But yeah, this is not going to score well. Definitely want to isolate Ace King here. Maybe it was a misclick. Sometimes misclicks happen. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, but not in the score. The score is ruthless. It doesn't lie. Oh my god. I've never played Ace King in a limped pot out of the big blind and then checked and seen a bet and a raise before. I've never seen this. I guess you should call. The other option is to 3-bet. I mean, if Villain 18 is an absolute whale and is raising, like, loads of top pair on the flop and draws, you could probably 3-bet here. You could 3-bet fold here, probably, because no one's ever going to mess with you here. How often does small blind have deuces or 3s? Like, not very often. There's almost no 2-pair. Yeah, you can 3-bet fold this node, probably. You can just 3-bet this node. Okay, as played, we call. He overbets. Has he just got a boat? Like, what is happening? Like, who on earth takes this line without at least a flush now? You have the nut flush drawn, you have a bunch of boat drawn, quad draw. Like, you're going to have to call. But I'm pretty unhappy with life now. I guess this is what you get. The poker gods have a funny way of being like, don't do that. Don't check Ace King in the big blind. This is what you get. I would fold, man. There's just no way. I'm interested now. Yeah, you have the nut flush blocker and you have trips and blah, blah, blah. And there's so many stupid reasons you could come up with to call in this spot, but there's just no way you should ever call in this spot. But your hand is under-repped. But Pete, we checked pre. We've under-repped our hand. It doesn't matter. No one is taking the line of check, raise the flop, and then overbet turn jam river on this run out at 25 NL as a small blind caller. Like, think about the sort of person who calls out of the small blind and plays these stakes. Do they do this as a bluff? No. Do you beat a value bet? No. Should you call? Nah, you should fold. Okay, redemption on the river. This hand would have got a 0 out of 10 if we called the river. Given that we didn't, I'm not giving it a 0. I'm just going to give it... I mean, it is a good river fold for this level. I'm going to give it a 3. I think the student's clawed his way up to a 3 here, and that's what we're going to go with. Okay, we've been dealt ace-king again. We have the chance to redeem ourselves after that last debacle. Let's see if we can do just that with min open to hijack. I think I just go bigger because, like, I want more money in the pot with a good hand and a soft pull. So go bigger. But that aside, villain calls. Like, and I also don't care what your standard sizing is. Like, I just don't care about any of this. I just want to play the hand in a vacuum and maximize the EV. Ace-6 deuce with 2 spades. Okay, small bet texture for your range generally. Could go bigger with this hand. Villain's fairly polar here, so you can go bigger as an exploit only with, like, value, I think. Generally, when you're bluffing these textures, you go small because, like, loads of stuff is folding anyway. And then villain's kind of polarized to, like, ace-x or something bad. That's not exclusively true, but it's the general flavor is right. We do go bigger, which I don't mind. The queen of clubs comes on the turn. I would definitely bet the turn. You can overbet this card a lot in theory. In practice, you can still overbet this card a lot because there's ace-x of spades out there. There's queen-x of spades out there. There's naked spade draw. There's ace-x. There's just so many things you want to overbet against here. I just overbet. 1 big blind. Okay. At least you made 3-5 pay slightly more money to be 3-5. I don't know, man. This is going to get marked down. This is not redemption at all. And they donk river for pot, man. Wow. I mean, okay. So 3-4 gets there. 3-5 picks up a pair. They have a bunch of combos of spade here, I guess. They may have been freaked out somewhat by your line. Like, normally when you face a pot-sized donk bet, it's pretty bad news, right? However, people who pot-sized donk bet are fish, and they're kind of merging a bit here. And the thing is that in order to have a really good hand here, here's why I probably just want to call. They need to have slow played the turn against your 1 big blind bet. Or have exactly 3-4 or ace-5 or 6-5, which they might just have. Like, put it this way, if we lose here, I expect to lose fully to a hand that just got there on the river, like the 3-4 or 6-5 or ace-5 or something like that, or deuce-5 suited. The old 25 of hearts, something like that. I'd be very surprised if we lost here to a hand that slow played flop and turn, and given that there aren't that many combos of the former group, the hands that got there on the river, and given your line may have caused some weird stuff, and given there are a bunch of spades that just didn't get there that all called the turn for that sizing, I'm calling here. Okay, ace-5. So like I say, when we lose this hand, it's going to be to one of these rivered hands, like 5s, ace-5, 6-5. That's just kind of the way it goes. So the 5 blocker here would be like the absolute holy grail, and would be like the best call ever, but it's not the point. Don't bet 1 big blind on the turn. Maybe it's a misclick. Maybe Laurent has massive sausage fingers and like tries to press hotkeys and hits like 9 keys at once and causes abominable bets to happen. It could well be the case, but the score of the Gauntlet cannot make such assumptions, and therefore this hand is getting a 1 out of 10. Because not betting the turn on this texture with ace-king against this pool is bad. But when you bet 1 big blind, I feel like it's worse. Because I feel like they won't bluff the river now. At least if you check back, they bluff the river, right? With a lot of stuff. But now they're not going to bluff the river as much. So I think it might even be worse than checking. 1's a bit harsh, actually. I'm going to go with 2. Let's go with 2. I want to keep 1 and 0 for like really, really terrible things that cost lots of money. I'm going to give this hand a 2. All right, let's add up the scores. So Laurent has scored 51 out of 100, 5.1 out of 10. However we're doing it. That is not the worst score in the Gauntlet, but I don't believe it's quite enough to take the lead. I think Jan is still in the lead with whatever score that was in episode 2. The editor will put it on the screen. The leaderboard will be up there. Thank you so much for watching Poker Gauntlet, and we'll be back with episode 5 really soon. Don't forget to check out all of the wonderful poker players that make content at carrotcorner.com. They're all professionals, they're all coaches, they're all very strong and successful. Check them out by clicking the top link in the description and subscribe there. Try it for a month, see what you think, or try it for a year and save a bunch of money. And I will see you guys when I am back from holiday towards the end of June. I've recorded this weeks and weeks before. So I hope you're having a great summer, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.